Hello and welcome back to the GG Royal Ascot video preview. I am still with my esteemed colleagues Andrew Mount and Kevin O'Malley.
Did you say steamed colleagues?
Steamed.
I only had a coke before we started.
Hammered. Absolutely hammered. Don't listen to a word they say. And we're going to look at some of the handicaps and maybe the best of the rest of what Royal Ascot has to offer us.
Any other business.
Any other business. And, of course, your nap of the week. So, do you want to lead us, Andrew, in terms of the best of the rest? Any other
sure
business?
thing. We'll talk about the Hardwick Stakes briefly.
A race I know you like.
Yeah, I do like this race. And, of course, we've got last year's winner, Crystal Ocean, for Sir Michael Stoute, currently around about the 7-4 favourite for this race. Now, I think he's a better horse this time around. He's 2 from 2 this season, winning over 1.5 miles last time out when a very short price at Newbury. Now, after his reappearance, Sandown win, Sir Michael Stoute suggested that he might go for the Prince of Wales' Stakes, for which he's around 6-1. But I think looking at the way this race is sort of, looks very winnable in comparison to that contest, I'd imagine they'll be tempted to repeat last year's win. He was beaten in the King George by stablemate Poet's Word in July, but I think he hit the front too soon that day. The winner in the third came from well back, and I think he was just did a little bit too much too soon, went down by a neck, and wasn't helped by racing more towards that far side rail in the straight. So I think Crystal Ocean around about 7-4 is going to take some beating if he goes for this race. That's the Hardwick Stakes.
That is not hard to imagine that winning, literally. What other stuff in handicaps?
Certainly with the handicaps. As we're recording this, we only know the entries for the Wokingham and the Royal Hunt Cup, which obviously makes life pretty tricky. Now, in the Wokingham, Dan Zeno was a huge eye-catcher at Nottingham the other day, absolutely hacking up, gets a penalty that's going to put him into this race. But only this week, trainer Mick Appleby was talking about sending him to the listed Cathedral Stakes at Salisbury instead on Sunday, which is a race he was run well in previously.
What a hero.
Of others in the Wokingham, I quite like Spanish City for Roger Varian. Was placed at Newmarket the other day and had really caught the eye at Epsom in that 6-furlong handicap won by Watchable, where nothing got into it from wide draws or off the pace, and he was 5th in that. So a real out. I mean, ideally, I think he wants 7 furlongs, but obviously there's no 7-furlong handicap here at Royal Ascot anymore after the Buckingham Palace Stakes went. But they usually go like the clappers in this race. You often need 7-furlong stamina to win the Wokingham. So Spanish City perhaps, and Merhoob for John Ryan, who's, you don't often say the words improving 7-year-old, but on the all-weather this winter, he took off and just seemed to find a new level of form. Now, I was curious whether he could translate that to turf. He didn't on his first turf run of the year at Musselburgh, but he's since won impressively on the grass, and I think Merhoob will be a good price. Representing a small yard, he could run a good race here in the Wokingham.
Definitely, and we, you talk about Bacchus last year as well, winning the Wokingham, and might go again as well.
Yeah, I don't think he's run yet this season, has he? And he's got a lot of weight. Yeah, a big price again as he was last year, but you wouldn't put it past him to have been laid out for this again and coming here fresh, given his good record first time out.
Definitely love that though. Improving 7-year-old gives us all hope. That doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Definitely. Kev, cast your eye over any other business?
Well, there's 2 in the Royal Hunt Cup that I quite like. Jamie Osborne trained Raising Sand. He finished 7th in it last year. He tends to start his races quite slowly and stay on very well in the closing stages. But he finished 4th in the Victoria Cup last time out. Clocked a very good speed figure again, and he just seems to be coming into the race in better form than what he did last year. And he ran a cracker in this last year as well. Was a little bit unlucky. So I could see Raising Sand running another big race. Obviously, James Tate's New Graduate has been the one for money.
Top of the betting,
yeah. He's progressing well. He's unexposed, but I just wonder, will his experience find him all at sea against a bunch of very experienced horses? So that would be the question mark for him. David Marnane's Settle for Bay has been quite popular in the bet, and he obviously won this race last year. But I've been watching him in his warm-up races, and he just looks a little bit lackluster for me, Settle for Bay. So he certainly wouldn't be for me on the back of some of his warm-up runs. Another one that I'd be keen on would be Jassar for Dermot Weld. He's another unexposed type. He looks to have been laid out for a tilt at this. He's been fairly slow to come to hand, but he won his maiden at Limerick very impressively, and then followed that up last time out in a Heritage Handicap, beating Flight Risk of Jim Bolger's, which is a nice bit of form. And I think that was over. I think a strongly run mile really suit the horse. You know, he was raced prominently last time out, over 7 furlongs just to make sure. But I think he's all about stamina. He probably want fast ground Jassar as well. If he gets it, I think he'd be a major player.
That's your third Dermot Weld horse you mentioned in these.
Yeah, I'm expecting
so. Yeah, expecting a nice.
No, I wouldn't disagree. I've got to start with Dermot Weld runners with his, and not necessarily in the handicaps, but certainly in the group races with his 3-year-olds or older. I think it's 5 winners from 25 in recent years, and a profit of around about I think £22 to a £1 level stake. So he doesn't send many over here, but those that do run often run well at big prices.
Buy that for $1, wouldn't you? Cool.
But getting back to the Royal Hunt Cup, and Kev's given us a good few to consider there. There's one called Indeed that I've been looking forward to since his British debut at Newbury in the Spring Cup. That was back in April. Trained by Dominic French Davis. He was a 50-to-1 shot that day. He's run an absolute cracker. He's finished second by a neck, coming out of stall 17 down the stand side. Something we mentioned earlier when we talked about the Queen Anne and the lock-ins, that it was hard to win from a high draw against that rail. Now you look at the first half a dozen home that day, drawn in stalls 3, 17, 2, 5, 6 and 1. So 5 of the first 6 were basically far side of centre, down the from very low draws, and Indeed's run an absolute belter. Yeah. Now Dominic French Davis has a column in Racing and Football Outlook this season, as I do, and he basically said cut is important to this one. He hasn't run since. He's been entered several times in a lot of these big handicaps, but they've just pulled him out because he hasn't got the required cut in the ground. So if we do get some give, then Indeed, it's got to be backed wherever he runs next, whether it's Royal Ascot, Glorious Goodwood, or whether he's back here for the Champions Stakes meeting in October.
One for the GG alerts.
Yes, definitely.
I've got 2 to mention in the Britannia Stakes and 2 to mention in the Wokingham. So in the Britannia Stakes, trained by William Haggis. AWE.
Got a bit of a bad back.
Yeah. You don't often see a race horse with only 3 letters in its name.
Spelled A-R-E?
AWE.
AWE.
Is that what we feel when we're in your presence?
Yeah. Oh, God, thank you. Thanks. In awe. Yeah. Hee-haw. Yeah.
I gave up on all before his Newmarket victory the other day and went for the runner-up Blown by Wind, and regretted it.
Another way to describe me.
He fluffed his lines at Haydock, didn't he? But he looks progressive, and you always have to respect these Haggis runners in 3-year-old handicaps. But the one I would really fancy in that race is Beat Le Bon. He's always promised to be high-class horse. He's a very good-looking horse, and he produced a career best at Goodwood last time out. He was held up off a strong pace, and both the second and the third got a very clear first run on him. But he mowed them down very strongly in the closing stages. He's very strong at the line there, so I think he'll get the trip. He's £7 higher, so he'll be running off 101, which is a fairly lofty mark. But I really like Beat Le Bon. Richard Hannon.
Cool.
So yeah, Beat Le Bon, I would quite strongly fancy him in that Britannia Stakes. And the Wokingham on Saturday, there's 2 to mention there. Vanbrugh, I think, is an interesting one for Charlie Hills. He won a conditions race at Thirsk back in April, and then he tried a listed race at Haydock over 7 furlongs, and he just didn't quite get home that day. So I think that the drop back in trip is going to suit him. The form looks pretty solid. He's around about 25-1, and I could see Vanbrugh running a big race. But the one I really like there, he hasn't won since his second start as a juvenile, is a Hey Jonesy for Kevin Ryan. He was a very, very good juvenile. He didn't win as a 3-year-old, but he had stacks and stacks of good runs in very, very good races. He was actually only beaten 2 lengths in the Commonwealth Cup last year behind Echtidar. He's running here off a mark of 106. Again, there's no hiding places off a mark quite as high as that. But he's had wind surgery. He's had a couple of nice tune-up runs. Hey Jonesy, and again at around about 25-1 back in handicap company, I could see Hey Jonesy running a massive race on Saturday in that Wokingham at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that's what we want. Another big price O'Malley winner.
Yeah, so I haven't had a look at the Stayers handicaps, to be honest, because the entries are only coming out today. But those be my ones for the sprint to mile ones.
One thing I mentioned with those is the draw over 10 to 12 furlongs, and we obviously talk about the draw more often on the straight track, but it's very hard to win from a very low draw in those sort of big field 10, 12 furlong races. Since the draw was reversed in 2011, stalls 1, 2, 3 and 4 are 0 from 88 in Royal Ascot handicaps over 10 to 12 furlongs. And generally speaking...
Stat alert.
Stat alert.
Yeah, so, hold-up horses drawn middle to high are generally best. And there's other oddities. Runners in first-time hoods have done well. And there were 2 last year at Royal Ascot. Both won 10 to 1 and 8 to 1. And so 6 from 26, 23% in recent years, and that's plus £45.50 to a £1 level stake. So you're looking for a reason to. A horse needs to find that extra few pounds to go from sort of good effort and defeat to winning a Royal Ascot handicap or any Royal Ascot
put that as a negative, wouldn't they, with the hood on?
Yeah, look out for that.
Jockey's got to get it off.
And indeed, when it comes to sires, the same sires tend to do well at this meeting over the years. Exceed and Excel, a sire that does well on the all-weather, in particular at Kempton. Again, all-weather form often translates well to Ascot because of the sand base. But if you backed anything side by Exceed and Excel at Royal Ascot, plus £95 to a £1 level stake, the strike rate is low, but then you're talking about big price winners. Scat Daddy's 8 from 23 here, largely thanks to Wesley Ward.
Wesley, yeah.
Plus £33, 46 to a £1 stake. And have a look at Dubawi's and Oasis Dreams as well.
Wow, lovely stats there. That's what we like, big time. And so I suppose we get to that point where I'm going to press you on your nap of the Royal Ascot meeting. Kev,
yes,
would you like to give me that? Yeah. And all of our watchers out there as well.
My nap. Royal Ascot in 2019 is Waldgeist in the Prince of Wales Stakes. He just looked like an absolute beast in the Prix-Gannet. I think the step back to 10 furlongs is going to be the making of him. And I think he's got the beating of Magical and Sea of Class, so he'll be my nap.
Lovely. Summed up perfectly. And Andrew?
I think I'm going to have to go for Blue Point in the King's Stand Stakes. Not liking Batash, the current market leader. There's got to be value elsewhere in the race, and I'm with last year's winner.
Blue Point. Fantastic.
Good each way double there, I think. Blue Point and Walker.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be a nice price, wouldn't it?
What's your nap? Got any?
My nap...
is an each way double in our naps?
Yeah, well, obviously, yeah. Stick it into a treble. It'd be very difficult, actually. I think that...
is it yellow for the colour of the Queen's hat on day one?
I was going to say, I like to set the tone.
What do you think she's going to go for?
I like to set the tone with a bet on the Queen's hat.
Pastel green.
I think it might be a little bit more towards the rouges, sort of the red. So maybe a pink onto an orange could be sort of a light red, but I'm not sure.
I'm going to go for a wild card, 33 to 1 shot, Stars and Stripes. She's now mates with Donald. He's probably left her a parting gift. Yeah. Nice hat for Royal Ascot.
I should feel compelled to wear it on day one.
Hey Liz, wear this. Yeah, and he'd probably land that gamble as well with the Vegas odds, wouldn't he? Absolutely unbelievable. But so, Andrew, you won't be down at Royal Ascot. You'll be working hard, won't you?
No, I'll be working Racing Radio and the Racing Post as well. So I think I'll be doing the spotlight for the Queen Mary and 1 or 2 other races, hopefully.
Track Bias Diary, Trend Horses on GG as well.
Yes.
Busy man.
Absolutely. And Kev? Maybe
I'm
going down the dry cleaners. The suit is in the dry cleaners.
I'm partial to a last minute swerve, so we'll see. But at the minute, I shall be in my office for much of the week, enjoying it on the big screen telly. Best seats in the house, often.
Well, I'll be there Thursday in the what I like to call the Octagon, which is the cheap seats down the end. So
we'll text you the winners.
Yes. Let me know. Put a flag system up or something like that. Obviously, green is I've won, red is I haven't. So
go again.
Just need a red flag, really. But no, that was brilliant, guys. Enjoying that?
Yeah,
that
cheers, Jack.
Enjoyed
that. Hopefully, we've found a few winners.
I think there'll be a few in there.
Without a doubt. Well, that double, the nap double, amazing, eh? Well, don't forget to check out GG.CO.UK all next week for tips and analysis, by these guys, as well as our very own Laura King, our international jet setter, who will be looking at all of the international raiders. And don't forget, keep it GG.